Lita. I'm Stephanie Hansen, and you're listening to The Weekly Dish with
Stephanie March,
food editor of Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, and we are live out at Athleta at the Mall of America. They're celebrating their first year anniversary. Everyone that comes into the store and buys something today gets one item 30% off, which is awesome.
I know.
And we have special guests, special yoga guests. We have Zoe Francois and Jeffrey Hertzberg that came out to join us. Now, I feel like I kind of birthed you.
Doctor.
Hello, Doctor. They started out this book. It is Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. And they were my very first radio guests that I had. And you said I was your first radio,
interview.
Yeah.
Wow.
I broke your cherry in radio land.
Very first.
I really love that.
Here,
I know. I'm
God.
sorry. I'm a little naughty.
Yeah.
I remember reading your first book, and I remember, Jeff is dying, I remember thinking Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. Baking is always something that I've wanted to do that I'm not very good at.
She's worried about it, which is why she's 100% your target, right?
Because your book changed my life. So explain to me, the way this works is Jeff is like the scientist, and Zoe is the baker.
Right.
And they got together and had this awesome collaboration.
And they're not married.
Nope, they're just friends.
Which is important, because I think you said that the last time we had them on.
That you were married?
Yeah, you were like,
Yes, you are.
dating. Yeah.
Oh, God, I know you're not married. That's funny. Maybe it was a weird Freudian slip.
Maybe.
I'm not sure your spouses would appreciate
No,
that.
probably
But
not. So anyway, back to the book.
tell it, you're relaunching the book, and it's now the new Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day. And I want to talk about, just give me the basics. Jeff, maybe you're the scientist. How does this work?
Okay, so it's the same basic idea of
Swallow your microphone.
Yeah, you want it
About
right there.
about storing the dough for about 2 weeks in your fridge. And so because the dough's all ready to go, there's not this whole big rigmarole of kneading and waiting and punching down. The dough's just ready to go. And that's what changed my life when I started fooling with this 20 years ago. And we just expanded that out into, now this is our fourth book. We've got 2 in Asia, 1 in Britain. And there's new stuff in here. There's about 30 new recipes, 40 pictures in color, 100 black and white, which none of which we had. It's a much fatter book.
Yep.
And a bunch of really fun new recipes. And a bunch of technical things we changed. We're using less yeast. We're giving you a chance to change the salt. And that's all the technical I'm talking about today.
That's it.
Well, okay, so literally you dump flour,
Yes.
water, and yeast in a bucket, a plastic bucket,
Yeah.
that will fit in your refrigerator. You kind of give it a whoosh with your hands, and you have bread for the next 2 weeks that you can pull off a hunk. You can make pizza.
Exactly.
You can make rolls for your kids
Yep.
for their lunch that day. You can make a baguette. Zoe and Jeff, well, Zoe made them, but they brought us these beautiful baguettes. So, Zoe, you're taking this bread that is super easy to whip up, and what are you making with it?
Oh, I make everything. I make baguettes, I make boules, which are a nice big ball of bread. You can do brioche, you can do Danish braids. You can do everything with it. Donuts.
Okay, on Artisan Bread in
I don't
5.
think this one knew that you could do donuts.
I do love a good donut.
Yeah.
On Artisan Bread in 5 right now, you have a recipe for these pumpkin swirl bread that
Oh.
is like a crazy, delicious-looking cinnamon roll with pumpkin. Yum.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Dr. Seuss in a bread.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So our friend Joy Summers, we went over there for a drink a couple weeks ago, and she's got a 5-year-old kid, Vinny.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not even 5, but so we're having drinks, and she just reaches into the refrigerator, pulls out a hunk of this bread, has this thing where she rolls it out. She made her kid a pizza in, honest to God, a minute and a half. We had another glass of wine while it cooked. 7 minutes later, there was Vinny's meal. It was awesome. And I was like, okay, she just made her kid a homemade meal in literally less than 10 minutes.
When my kids were little, we used to do that for the babysitter so she wouldn't quit.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
seriously.
She was from Italy, so we had to impress her.
Yeah, with your beautiful dough.
And my 12-year-old does this all on his own. He actually started a business this summer based on baking.
He did not.
Mixing up the dough, baking, and then he would tweet out or he would text his friends and our family friends, and they'd come to the back door and he'd sell them baked products.
Oh my God.
That's the best.
That's the
Aren't
best.
you proud?
I was so
If
proud.
my kid started selling baked goods out of the back door, I would just die. I'd love them so much more.
Oh my, well,
I would. I'd be like, oh my God, you're perfect. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. That would really be the apex for me as a mother.
yeah, no, it's true. Well, and I think, and again, this is one of those things that should just prove the fact that I think most people don't bake their own bread because they think, oh my God, there's no way I could do that. And I think you take one step to do it, and then all of a sudden you become the pro, and then it's no big deal. It's like no big deal.
It's
for
no
real.
big
And
deal at all.
if her kid can do it, you know what I mean? If a 12-year-old, come on.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're with Jeff Hertzberg and Zoe Francois. The book is The New Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day. Have you ever really tested this with complete non-kitchen cook people? Because Zoe Francois, you're not from France, but you may as well be, because you make the best pastries. It's weird that that's actually your name.
I know.
You know what I mean? Because you are this master baker that is making all of this beautiful pastry and doughs. You could be French.
You know that I married my husband for the last
For
name.
the last name.
Because
I would.
Wouldn't you?
I absolutely would.
I had to have that last name. Yeah, actually, the very first person that I had test this recipe. Ooh,
There you are. There you are.
was my mother, because when I was growing up, I don't think she ever opened the oven. I mean, I never
Really?
saw anything go in or out of it,
Yeah.
so I
It
assumed
was
she
just
never
for
used
storage.
it.
Right.
And I sent her the recipe for our very first book, and I figured if she can do this, anybody on earth could do it. She called me back. She was practically crying.
Aw.
She was so proud of herself. And she's been baking it ever since. So,
Wow.
yes. So once we knew she could do it, I was like, all right, Jeff, this works.
We're
Let's
good.
go.
Let's do it. I
Okay.
love that.
And let's talk about the dirty little secret. Are you ready for this?
Oh.
So, there's a lot of talk about, okay, I'm gluten-free, or gluten is bad and no one's eating bread anymore. Jeff, you're kind of the scientist here, and I noticed that on the cover of the book, you've got some gluten-free recipes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Why is bread getting such a bad rap?
Because it's probably true that more people do have celiac disease than they ever did before. Over the last 50 years, it's increasing. And it's not a small number of people. It's about 1% of the population, we think.
Okay.
And most of them don't know they have it. That still means 99% of the people don't have it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be able to, most of the people who buy this book, the reason they might want a gluten-free recipe is because they have somebody coming over to the house who can't eat it, and they want to bake.
Right.
And it's not any harder to do the gluten-free recipes, and they work, and they're good.
What I find really ironic,
Yeah.
I wish you guys could see Jeff and could see Zoe. And I know the way that Zoe bakes because I stalk her on Instagram and on Twitter. And they're the thinnest people you've ever encountered in your whole life. They look like they haven't eaten a sandwich since 1912. Really, you do.
I wouldn't go that far,
But just about.
But I think there's a lot of people who are worried that it's bread that makes you fat.
It's probably not. I mean, when people go off bread because of gluten concerns, they're going off bread, scotch, beer. Sugar, probably because they can't eat dessert ever again because
did
it's
you say
all with
scotch?
wheat.
I didn't even
Scotch has
think
barley.
about that.
Scotch has barley. It's wheat, barley, rye.
I better never be gluten-free.
If people stop drinking, they often lose weight because it's a fair number of calories. So anytime you wildly change your diet, you're going to probably lose weight.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's wheat or gluten for most people, but for people who do identify a problem, we wanted to be there for them.
So, Zoe, talk about, you've got some gluten-free recipes. What are some of your favorites? Because I know you've been testing these with our gluten-free friend, Stephanie Meyer.
Yes. The brioche. Actually, the gluten-free brioche, I tested it on my family, and my father said it was the best bread I'd ever made him. And it was
nice.
gluten-free, and he's not gluten-free, so the gluten-free brioche, I think the gluten-free pizza is divine.
Yes.
And we've eaten a lot of gluten-free breads that we didn't make, and they were really...
It's unfortunate because I will say
discouraging.
that since I hang out with, a few gluten-free gals, I tend to, it's like, oh, we'll just get the pizza gluten-free, no biggie. And I am so like, and also it makes me have a stomach ache. You know what I mean? Because it's
heavy.
It's imbalanced and
Yeah.
it's not right, I think.
That's right.
So yours is seriously above, beyond that stuff.
Good.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. If you guys want to sit around with us for the next segment, you're certainly welcome to. We'll probably just talk a little bit of restaurant news. I know you guys are big restaurant people. We're with Jeff Hertzberg and Zoe Francois. The book is The New Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day. There is a link on the show page.
Good.
And we'll go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back. We're out at Athleta at the Mall of America. And, of course, we should mention that Surdyk's is in the last day of their wine sale today. They're the show
Get on it.
sponsor.
Get on it.
And there is a link, too, to get tickets for the Day of the Dead dinner that we're having with El Burrito Mercado on November 3rd. So check that out. We'll be right back.